Hi, I'm Dorian Brown Pham. I go by all three names sometimes. I'm an actor and hope to be a writer, writing on the offside now, but hopefully I can do that professionally at some point.
Hope to be a have you written before just to kind of play around with it, or is this your
Yeah,
first?
I do. I had a pilot that I still have with a writing partner, and we had some really great attachments that we're kind of putting on the side. And then to write on my own, I do have a great pilot that I love. It's very different to 1 hour drama, and that I'll be sending out in a little bit, but it's such a weird time right now for our industry that like I don't know exactly. And I do want to do one more. I like to over prepare. So I just want to have one more before I really go out and like sell myself as a writer,
Oh, that's so
basically.
cool. I'm excited for it. Yeah, hopefully as we're recording this, the strike is still ongoing, so
Yeah.
we can reach a really good deal here pretty soon. But speaking of all the craziness, the first thing I always ask everybody is, how did you gain an interest into this crazy, nomadic industry we all live in and work in? When did that happen for you?
Um this is it's embarrassing because I literally just started acting because I wanted to meet Leonardo DiCaprio. I thought that would lead me. And I watched Pet Cemetery too and became obsessed with Edward Furlong. Now I'm dating myself, but yeah, so I was really obsessed with those two boys back down in South Florida when I was in, I think it was like fifth grade. I mean, I was little. And then, so I said, and I was dancing at the time. So I told my mom, I was like, I really want to take acting classes, not telling her it's because I want to meet these two boys in the future. I think this is the only way I can do that. And then, so I took acting class and obviously, community theater, which I'm obsessed with. I love community theaters all around the country. And the one that I was so lucky to go to was my whole childhood. And that ended up being, a really great, I obviously loved it more than I loved Crushes on, and luckily, and that was my first show in the class. There was like a showcase at the end. I mean, I really was like in sixth grade by now, and oh, I was just so I made people laugh, and that was like I didn't know I could do that, and it was just the best experience. I can still remember every feeling of it.
Oh, that's so cool. I do love that it started with crushes.
For sure. Isn't that really how most people really do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
When you're little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know, just watching, I think certain episodes of a sketch comedy series that would air on a weekend night that I won't mention. There was a
Yeah.
performer by the name of Sherry O'Terry that I had a huge crush
Yeah.
on.
Oh, how
So
funny. How
that was
cute.
a like, oh well, maybe I can. So something very similar to yours too. That's just so cool, and then
Yeah,
it
you're like,
transcends.
how do our my earpod just fell out. Can you still hear me? How do our two worlds connect?
Yeah.
Like how will my world ever connect with their world? Like it's ever gonna be. And then I did end up, this is so ridiculous. So in my early 20s, I did end up going to a club, whatever. I was probably 22. So before I met my now husband, and I was out, and Edward Furlong was there with his wife, I think. And I literally, I said to my friend, I was like, oh my gosh, the reason I am standing right here is because of that man, whatever. And he was just like, I told him too. I'm such an,
Yeah.
and I told him, and he was like, cool, cool, cool. And then I actually tested with him. Oh my gosh, it was just like full circle. It was pretty, pretty, pretty cool. It was actually for a theater in North Hollywood at some point. And then I was like, I'm not going to bring up that I literally embarrassed myself, however many months ago. I mean, it was within that same year, I think.
No,
Pretty
what?
funny.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
he remember
seriously.
you?
I didn't no, he didn't seem to,
Okay.
and then I wasn't gonna remind him.
Yeah. It'd be funny if you had that plan of, I'm not going to mention it, and you walk in and he goes,
Can
"Hey."
you imagine? No. I'll be straight. That's a, we all have our moments, but he was definitely not in the state of remembering that
Mm.
night, I think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I hope most of our listeners are all educated in the history of Edward Furlong.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, with that sort of transitional period from joining for crushes to figuring out that you really do love
Right.
it and it's just something that you fit into, what about it after that was always grabbing you? Because it is a really cutthroat industry, it's more
Right.
no's than yeses. So as you were getting older, maybe going from college or going from high school into college, like what kept you on that track? Or did you at any point think maybe I'll do something else just in case?
I didn't think I could do anything else. I could or would do anything else. I wasn't really great academically. I loved school. I loved studying. I loved researching, but I was a terrible test taker. That was back when SATs were everything to get into college. So very low. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll audition to get into schools. I really wanted to go to DePaul, and then I really wanted to. No, DePaul was my number one because
Okay.
I didn't want to fill out that Northwestern or that NYU application. I remember, so I thought, and DePaul's was really small at the time, so I was like, just wing it on my audition. I got on the wait list, but then I ended up going to Hofstra. I knew I needed to get out of Florida, and so I went to Hofstra, which is like it's sort of like a regular school. You know, they have a football team. They have a. Can you hear my dog whining? Oh my god, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no,
He's
no, it's good.
sorry. She's upset. She wants to be a part of this conversation.
Oh, no.
So so I thought, oh, I'll get like a 4 year normal college experience. It was in New York. It was like in Long Island or on Long Island, I should say. And they actually rebuilt the Globe. So the Globe Theater. So they would rebuild it every other year and had a nice Shakespeare festival there. So sort of got classically trained there for 3 years, and then on the fourth year, this was like the big selling point. You could go into the city and take classes at SFT, and gosh, I took classes with the best acting teacher I think of my whole life so far. His name was Richard Southern. It was so great, and he gave me so many tools. And just I think it was just a semester, and I had been 4 years at Hofstra, but this one semester with him, and it was on camera, and everything else was on stage. And when I got on camera, I realized, oh, I don't have to worry about like my voice, and I don't have to worry about filling an entire theater because I always had a big issue with that. And I can just be small and internal, and that's readable. And so that was really cool. Once that hit, that's when I was like, oh, I'm not ever thinking about anything else.
Wow.
And then I
Wow.
graduated, and then yeah, so then it was like perfect timing.
Yeah. Did you just decided, from then there, I'm going to focus on TV and film?
100. I wanted to quit college at that. I literally was like, "Oh I love this so much. Can I just start now? I want to do
Oh,
this now."
wow.
But I finished, and my parents were like, "Are you kidding me? You need to just finish." And so I did, of course. Went back home for a month, worked or a year, worked with my parents. And then I came out to California. I felt like a lot of my friends stayed in New York, but I felt like that felt like a struggle for some reason. It felt like, going to the grocery store was difficult. Like I'm just used to getting in the car and driving. That felt less difficult. So California had a vibe of that I was used to coming from Florida. New York just felt more of a struggle for me. So I just knew that that was a better place. So my one friend who now does workshops in California and LA, if any actors ever need to do some self tapes, he's really good. His name's Jeremy Cohenauer, and he came out like a month before me, and then I came out and hung out like couch surfed on his apartment, and then got a place. So it was just like the two of us from Hofstra. It was pretty great.
Oh, that's so good. It's a very, I don't wanna say traditional LA story, but it is one of
Yeah,
those, the point of origin for moving to LA, you're with a friend or maybe you're living in
yeah,
a garage house behind somebody's
absolutely. I
retired home.
definitely did that. I definitely did that.
Did you
It was all
really?
the way yeah, my mom knew one person, and she was in Palos Verdes, which I don't know if anyone knows. It's like an hour from LA, so I got a job, in Beverly Hills at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, and I would travel every day from Palos Verdes, which is an out like, and then go into work and then go back home at like 11 or 12 at night. And because that was the only place I could live. I mean, Jeremy could only give me his couch for a couple days or whatever, the weekend or something. But I was living in this like back house. My mom's like, I know one person in California. And so I'm like, call her up. She has a guest house. So that lasted about a month because the driving was just crazy.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about trying to make it to an
Traffic.
audition. Yeah, with the traffic.
Traffic is insane.
That's why I thought, I'll stay in Denver for a little bit and see what happens and just kind of go from there. But I mean, how
Yeah.
long between, moving into the back house and then maybe your first onset experience, how long was that for you?
You know, things happened like in it, it felt like it was an eternity, but it was really fast at first. My nose started coming sort of later. My yes, I
Mm,
got a, yeah, a lot of, I was really lucky that I got a lot of yeses in the beginning. Um, but I mean, I did get, I got cast my first on set experience. I didn't quite make it to the set. So I'm sure you're familiar with the multicam situation where,
yeah.
like, you have the table read on day one, and then day two could be the rehearsal, and then maybe I think the studio comes, and then day three the network comes, and
Mm.
then so you don't really shoot it till Friday, right? Day five. So I got cast. My first job, I got cast as a co-star in a sitcom, and I made it. Went to the table read, and was recast. They did not keep me on that.
Oh, no.
That was my first. I mean, it's a happens, and so that was my first hire. That was my first job, but I didn't make it to set. And then the second time, oh man, I prepared like crazy. It was on another show with our president of SAG-AFTRA right now. I got to work with her, Fran Drescher. It was on her show, and that was a wonderful experience. So that experience was also a sitcom, and making people laugh. It felt like theater, but yet it was still, cameras. It's just like
Yeah.
it was the best.
Oh, I'm sure you were just like over the moon.
Oh, I was over the moon. I was so happy. I was so happy. They actually brought me back. Misty Traya, I think she was the sister, and she was sick for a week. And Fran mentioned my name to say, can she come back and sort of just workshop through her stuff so we don't have a missing body? And yeah, so like I shot my episode, and then they brought me back just for like to help out while Misty was out. Obviously not shoot it, but she was so sick. Then she came in and shot it, and then but there was a body there, so we could get the timing and get it was really nice. It was
Oh, man.
really nice. The great thing about working when you do work and when you do meet people, you get, you can keep it up, and you can always, if you need, like, as a writer now, like, can you read this? Can you give me notes? Can I, everybody really likes to help everybody out. It's like pay it forward out here. And
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
in Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's grown I've been doing this for 10 years, and it's grown
Oh,
exponentially
wow.
since then. It's just been
Wow.
insane. But yeah, the same thing where you can bring your your writing to somebody, and they're not gonna say, "Oh, I loved it. Oh, it was so
Yes,
good."
please don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Just make it bleed,
yeah.
you know? Just go
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Um, and I can only because I've only been to LA a few times. I've never, lived there, but I have friends out there who have that same journey, and
Mhm,
I always wondered, when do you, if you do, when do you decide in LA, I'm going to pursue this as my career, instead of kind of keeping your foot, I don't want to say half in the door and half out, but when
mhm.
did you decide, all right, well, I'm getting some traction. Maybe I'll do this as my job. Did you have a moment there where you realized that?
Well, my bank account told me, like, "Okay, I can just focus on this." I mean, because I never had any intention of doing anything else. There was no, I mean,
Oh, wow.
I worked at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse for, like, for 2.5 years, and they tried to get me to become a server, and I remember looking around and just being like, "Everybody's been here for a really long time."
Yeah.
I love we became a family, but I was like, I don't want to get too into too too deep to this
Yeah.
restaurant. Like I just want to half out the door. I'm not going to be here that long. You're like, I don't want to learn everything and everywhere. I just want to be a host. I don't want to be a server. I'm just going to stay right here and smile and seat people. I can't get in too deep. And
Yeah.
then but it's funny because honestly for me during the pandemic is when things really changed. So I have two kids, and then I really had to start homeschooling them for a while. So it was more, that's when I thought, well, I might not be able to do this forever. So I actually thought I did some social work. I did social work for a couple years because I couldn't get back in. The industry changed, and I despise self tape auditions. I
Mm.
actually hate them so much, and I'm not good at them. And just acting by myself is not interesting to me personally. It's not, and I want to get back in a room so bad. Um, so I've been like, so now my foot is half out the door. I'm not only writing and acting when I can, when I'm asked to or whatever, but I work at a middle school 3 days a week because that's what I was doing we're on my third year now of working. It was 2 years of social work. And then this third year is, you know, not, it's more working with the parents, not with the students. But that's fulfilling as well. And I also gives me a lot of great story ideas, and it gets me out of my head. Um, and I know the industry is always there. Like when I myself and it is ready to like meet again, I know we will for sure.
Yeah.
But right now, yeah, I know my kids. It's some there's that. It's always been the industry, and now it's definitely more my family. It's just like, okay, we need you a little bit more right now.
Yeah. I mean, have you
Mm.
noticed your we'll get into the supreme hatred for self-tapes, but the,
Mm.
the idea that most people in their late teens, early 20s get into the industry, and it's all they think about is just, booking it and getting through. But once you
Yeah.
have a family, you have further responsibilities. I have friends who weren't really booking at all the first 8 years. They got married, they had a family, that's their world, and then suddenly they start booking like crazy. And I think
Mm.
there's a correlation between, finding happiness outside of the
Mm.
industry and then your ability to go into an audition and not feel all that pressure that you did before. Because you
Yeah.
have another have you noticed I mean, talking about self-tapes specifically, have you noticed an ability to just fall into the scene, get it done, submit it, and not overthink it with this, new part of your life?
Mm, I didn't realize for me it's about the pressure that really drives me,
Mm,
and I didn't realize that until I had to start self-taping a lot. I put a lot into the self-tapes, but it's the adrenaline, I guess, for me. It's the teamwork, it's the eyes on me, which I was surprised to know that about me, but that's really what it is. That it might be a bit of competitiveness as well. Like I thought I hated auditions, but I actually miss them because, for example, if you're like, oh, you're going into this one casting director who loves you. Oh, great. Okay, I'm going to go in, and for some reason I just for would always, or if I had to prove myself to this one casting director, it was just a higher level of focus.
mm.
So that's what drives me more. I guess it's always just kind of been proving myself. And when I'm self taping, uh, I don't feel I'm proving anything, and I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
communicating with anyone. And I make my husband tape, but we're in our little garage studio out here, and I make him not face me because I can't act in front of him. He has to turn around and he has to go in the corner and don't talk. I can't do it to him. And so my friend will do it FaceTime, but then there's always like a lag. And I just want to get back in the room. So I'm I mean, it's terrible. The commercial auditions too, they're all
Oh,
self-tape and good
yeah.
God. I'm sorry. I'm a Debbie Downer when it comes to it, but
No,
I just
not at all. We
can't
were
wait.
the last episode we recorded, we were talking about this, especially the commercial auditions that have been coming in. And you have, for me, I have 4 by 5 feet of space to interact with the environment. So when you're having me do 10 to 20 different things within a
Oh
15
my
second
gosh.
period and make it look convincing, it's
Yeah.
not going to be great on a self tape. It's just not.
No, no. And also, like, I didn't know I was directing and lighting and like doing that. I just am not. I'm too old. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. I just would rather write. But I do miss the teamwork. I miss the onset experience. I miss everyone having one goal. Everyone be doing the best that they can do to get this one same goal.
Yeah.
I really miss that family. It's been a long time, but that is what keeps me going and like keeps me sort of one foot in. I mean, mentally and in my heart, I am always completely in. If anyone calls
Mm.
me and says, "Can you be here tomorrow?" I would say 100%. Kids, figure it out for yourself. I'll be there tomorrow, you know. But for all the self tapes and all the things that I kind of have to do on my own, I just have very little interest in that. I
Yeah.
like to work with a team.
Well, I need to ask this because I feel like a lot of people can relate who have partners who help them with their tapes. Do you guys get just an insane amount of giggles if he's facing you? Like, is there just some kind of
No,
weird
we've
laughter
been
tension
married
there?
too long. We've been married too long for the giggles, for sure. We're just I get real serious and it's just, you know, like my kids are out in the house and he's out here and he comes in. It's almost like, you know, it's a pain. So I wish I got the if it's my friend, and they know me very when it's a comedy, like I have this one group of friends from a sitcom we did very, very long ago. I'd say about 20 years ago, and it was terrible show. It was a terrible show, but the group, we had so much fun. And so I can call on them anytime and they're just like, "Yeah, let's read this real quick. Let's do this." And if it's any one of them, I get straight up giggles. If it's my husband, I get angry. Like, stop laughing. Ruining this for me. Um, no. Do you get the gig? Are you married? Do you have a partner and
um,
you get the giggles?
we're not yet.
Oh,
It's oh, hopefully she doesn't listen to this, so it's fine. Um,
sorry. You're
no,
your
but
scene partner.
it's no, she's amazing. She helps me read, and she's wonderful at it because I we do
Mhm.
have to do the hey, don't worry about putting on a performance. Just read it the way anybody else would if they just
Exactly.
were cold reading, and then I can deliver what I need to deliver. But there are just some things that she pronounces or the way that she reads through a line that we just start busting out laughing. So
That's funny.
it'll take 45 minutes for, a
Oh,
one-page scene, and it's a lot of fun, but, towards the end,
that's sweet.
it's the same thing. It's like, I need you to face a different direction because if I
Yeah,
see your cheeks moving, I'm gonna start
that's
laughing.
cute.
Um
Oh, well, at least it's fun. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a better. Yeah. I mean, I used to be, but when we get that, I just we're like, "Oh, we have a self tape. We have to go do it." And then I wish I enjoyed it more. I really do. I try to find
yeah,
it, and I enjoy it when my friend Jeremy, I would go all the time, and I enjoy it. And I'm paying, too, but it's like, how much can I? It starts to get very expensive. You start paying a service for this, and there's no end to the self tape situation. So it was like, I can't do this forever. I
yeah,
did have a little workshop before the pandemic, and I would tape actors, and that was really fun for me. And it was doing really well. But then that was it was just a few months before, and then once the pandemic hit, I was like, I can't have it. People in my house, even in the garage, even in the studio or whatever.
yeah,
But then the technology, like the self tapes really grew and the technology was growing. And I was like, I just kind of lost. Everybody was getting their own sort of studios inside their house. I mean, everyone had them, it seemed. But you still have to find that scene partner. I did find a few apps. I don't know if you found them like I can't remember, but it's free where you can find like you can volunteer your time to be a reader,
oh,
and then
yeah.
somebody can be like waiting. If you're like, "Hi, I need someone right now," and it connects you with someone. You don't have to pay.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
is it,
I have a few of those.
I know We Audition is the bigger one, right?
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
That I think I only know about that one and maybe one other one because, yeah,
Okay.
if you can't find a scene partner, I know people who,
Yeah,
do the old-fashioned routine of recording their voice on another
I've
device
done
and
that.
then playing it.
Totally.
Yeah, if you're in a
It's so
pinch,
stressful. Yeah,
"Huh,"
you've got to do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Guess I'll try it out." Um, but yeah, with all the stress of, last minute self-tapes and the way the industry is right now and, us being on strike, on the other end, your behind the scenes work. I want to talk about that. So especially your writing,
Hmm.
what, you know, just sparked your interest in that because it is something really fun to think about until you start doing it. And
Hmm.
then it's so much more work than people realize. So when did that occur for you? Because that's really cool.
It's funny, thank you. I really do enjoy it. I've always had sort of interests everywhere. My husband and I, at one point, we did an online babysitting agency because we really needed a babysitter. And this was during a show that I was on. I think I did it. It was actually within the first year of that show. And I just sort of did it on the side because we needed a babysitter. If you don't have family in any state that you live in, not anywhere nearby, it's really hard to find a trusted babysitter. Anyway, going on. And so we did this, and I ended up going to like a convention, like a babysitting convention. And I'm looking around and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, how did I get here? This babysitting convention. Like, where did this bring me? So then I'm looking around and looking for story, just looking at all the different characters here. And I'm like, wow, there's some really funny, interesting stories right here. I mean, and so I just started, so I was doing a series, and then the director, Randall Einhorn, one of my most favorite people in the world, brought me in. He was doing a campaign, Chevy campaign. He brought me in to do that, which was like such a blessing. It was like a reoccurring sort of commercial campaign. Like,
Oh,
hello, it
yeah.
doesn't pay for my kids' whole preschool. It was so amazing. And so but at the time he said to me, he goes, I need some content. This network has hired me to, we have a development deal, and I need some content because, and it was more of like in a conversation. And I was like, I do have some ideas. So then I just went home not knowing how to write at all, but I've read so many plays and scripts at this point in my life, right? That I feel like, hey, it could be fine. I've read so many scripts. So I get home and I just start writing scenes. I don't know how to start or where to start, but I just had all these really funny storylines. And and then, he read it and he's like, "That's actually really funny, but, no." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, okay, I guess I need to, like, take class or whatever." So
Yeah.
my friend who's a novelist, she helped me with it, and that's how we started writing this pilot together. And it ended up doing really well. And then I started taking courses, and I, love, love, love just, like, diving in, not only with one character and maybe with the other characters. I mean, you it's really having to do everybody's, like, you think about how the director might do it or how the other actors might do it. And I think, like, the most fascinating thing would be to just watch other actors, take what you've written and, like, bring that
Oh, yeah.
whole,
Yeah.
wouldn't that just, and I just think it's so cool, this whole industry that we're in. I would just love to be on that side once, maybe a million, we'll see, but I just wanna do it once, and see how other actors and, like, what their take is and how deep they went on something, and, what other people come up with, and then bringing them together in one room. I just, like, it sounds fascinating to me because we do, as an actor, all of it on our own. I mean, the imagination process is by ourselves, and then the magic is, like, when we all come together, and have a conversation. And I never thought about where it originated from and what that thought process was. I just thought, "Oh, these are my words. I have to make them mine, and now they're mine." As a writer, it's like, this person has thought of everyone's words. And I just find that it's also super challenging to have different people, different voices, different stories, different. So it feels like it could never stop, like the writing, it could never be finished.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll send my friend one and then be like, oh, I'm just about to read it now. And I'll say, okay, wait, I've just made like 3 passes since I sent you that last one, It could never, I could keep
Absolutely.
going.
Oh, yeah, it never I we just filmed a proof of concept 2 weeks
Nice.
ago, and I feel
Oh,
so
you
bad for
filmed
my
it?
friend. Yeah, I just,
Oh,
we used Filmic Pro on an iPhone just to, save some money and do something, but
cool.
my friend who's acting in it with me, I think I sent her probably 15 revisions in the span of a week just because it just, "Oh, well, you're great at this and you're great." So I totally get
Oh,
it's constantly changing, constantly evolving, but it's also really cathartic to see somebody say your lines in a whole new way you didn't expect, right?
that's cool.
Like, it's just insane. So, one thing I love to geek out about on this podcast when I talk to somebody else who writes,
Mm,
is just talk about their writing process.
Mhm.
So for, I mean, you have dry erase boards and sticky notes, a whole bunch of stuff. I have the same
Mm.
thing that I cleared out because it would be really scary to people. Uh,
Embarrassing, I know.
yeah,
Oh, really, really scary.
like I'm not insane or tracking a serial killer. I'm
Oh,
just
that's funny, and now I really wanna see it.
it's a bit much. Uh,
Oh,
but what's your writing process? I always think that's the coolest thing to hear about another writer is how they attack. I know you talked about writing scenes initially and kind of
yeah,
breaking things
and that
apart from
was
there. But yeah, is
yeah,
it
and
is it
that
chaos?
was before it was total chaos, yeah. And my friend who was a novelist, she showed me, I'd never seen that side. I would go into writers' rooms, when I was on shows and see, like, their color coding, like, characters and their, episodic codes and what all that stuff, but I still was just like, "Oh, that's cool. I see my name. Yay." Like, whatever, I didn't know. But then, I saw the poster. She brought out a poster board, and then she said, like, she tracked the storylines of these characters and, like, where our character would go, and then we went through the whole season or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, maybe I should think about that. And sorry, my dog's whining. She really wants a walk.
Oh,
And sorry. um, I swear she's healthy and fine. She's just
she's
whining.
safe. Yeah.
She's a crybaby. Um, anyway, and she hears me laughing and she wants to be a part of it. So sorry. So then, the last thing I did was a 1 hour drama, and this was an idea that I had for a long time. So, like, I'm so new to it, where I just knew that I knew how it started and I knew how it ended. Right. So made sure that I had the characters. I mean, this one I sort of did with a class. This class is called Script Anatomy. It's really great if anyone is ever looking
Mm.
for classes. Um, it's all remote. And I did it on a Saturday for like 6 months, I think. No, 4 months. It was fantastic. And then they do some freebie, like, Q&As too. It's been a really great find. So I did that with that class, and so you had the whole class sort of give you notes and all of that, and you get to also read other people's ideas and things like that. And that was a really big eye opener, and it taught me a lot about how to not just keep things interesting and flowing, because I feel like dialogue has always been my strong suit, maybe because of
Mm.
the acting. And then the transitions, I was like, I don't even understand. Is this an important thing that we need to focus on? Like, everybody's like, yeah, this can make you seem green, or it can
Yeah.
make you seem like a so all these things. So that's one idea. And then I have this other idea, and it's completely different. So I can't tell you that I have the same writing process. I think everything has been so different,
Yeah.
where this one, I don't know exactly what it is. It's very clear to me, and I know it's a comedy, um, and I'm almost there, but I honestly don't know. And I've written so many outlines, and it just hasn't clicked. And I know I cannot write those scenes yet. I know for this one, I need to really figure out what it is, um, and really figure out the tone, because I feel like it's not something I've ever seen. So I don't have a lot to go by, and I obviously don't want to do too much research because I don't want to copy, just subconsciously copy something. So I just feel like it's a tone that I want to dive into, and I'm not quite sure.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm not sure how to explain it, but I know that my writing process is completely different for everything. I don't think I have my own process yet.
I love that. I mean, you're you're exuding the story. There's no way to, I feel like in some ways, if you're following a certain template, it limits the amount that you're able to fully put out on the dry erase board or in your notes because you're
Mhm.
trying to think of someone else's structure, so
Mhm.
it'll just kind of limit you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I
Yeah.
feel like with actors, that's also the same. You know, in college, it's very experimental, and I was doing so well straight out of college and everything, and then I took a comedy workshop, for because I started testing for comedies, and so they said, "Oh, let's do this very strict comedy workshop," and it was like, there's 3 beats per page, and it's very formulaic and everything. It's like, okay, but is it? I mean,
Mm.
that sounds like everybody's gonna be doing the same thing. I don't I get that, let's try and do 3 beats a page, and let's do the reversals where we're laughing and then we're straight, and that's always funny, but if I try to follow this your template, then mine's out the window. Like whatever I was coming up with organically is like not even available to me anymore,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
I think that's true about acting. And I think and I did I love acting class. I took a lot of classes with different people. Um, but I realized when I stopped, sometimes you just need a break from the classes as well.
Yeah.
You know, figure out who you are, what you are saying, and how you say it. And that's how you say it is great. That's, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
don't let anybody push you into expressing it in a certain way, you know?
Yeah, especially if you take, I don't know, if you take a certain class too long and there's a certain
Yes.
plateau, it's you're
Yeah.
100% right. And I'm in that spot right now. Well,
Are you?
also financially, just
Well, that's true
saving a
too.
bit
It's
of money.
majorly draining. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot, but, yeah, it's really it's fun experimenting with your own work or, writing something and realizing, "Oh, maybe I should try this out, see what happens."
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I mean, outside of your acting and your writing and your behind the scenes work, your day job, what keeps you satiated in life? I mean, I know you have a lot going on, but is there anything, including your family, that you just enjoy doing to kind of bring you back down to neutral when things are really crazy?
Yeah, I mean, I just it's my family, but sometimes they can be crazy too. Um, but no, we love spending time with each other. I love traveling. Love to do that more.
Mm,
I have family on the East Coast, so we really try to see them a lot more. And I do love stories. I like to just watch a lot of TV. I
yeah.
love stories. Yeah, reading. I just reread. My son is reading The Outsiders. Yeah, he's in 7th grade, so he's reading that. I go, "Oh, can I read that too?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "I guess." I read it, and I was just like, "Dang, this is good. I forgot how good this was." You know?
It's funny revisiting those, school
Mhm.
mandated books. You're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I mean, Catcher in the Rye is okay when you're, 15 and then you read it again and go, "Oh, wow. What?
Wow.
I couldn't
Right?
appreciate any of this."
Right? When they just did To Kill a Mockingbird that just released, in theaters or, on playhouses recently, it was just
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good." I
Yeah.
had to read that in, like, freshman year, I think, I was just like, "Dang, I wish I realized how good that was. This is good." I know, it's like
At that age, you're like, "I just wanna go home and eat and watch
eat.
some
I just wanna
TV
eat.
probably."
It's so true. Absolutely.
Well, I know things they're definitely crazy, in the world, but also with the strike, we don't know what's going to happen in the next few
Yeah.
weeks. But looking past all that, I just wanna see, in the next let's say the next 2 years or so, what you want to accomplish professionally. If you have a goal in mind or if there's something you're really aiming for, what would
Yeah,
it be?
I would love to get this one show, I wrote it for myself, and I'd love to the one that I wrote to be the lead and work on that. I would just love to, um, produce and work in front of the camera and behind the camera on one project. Sounds really fun.
Yeah. You better bring a lot of caffeine.
Yeah, 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 for sure. You know what though? When you're having that much fun, you barely need it. You
That's
really
true.
barely need that kind of caffeine. I need the caffeine when I'm taking the kids to school and like, and I don't need the caffeine when I'm on set, really.
Yeah, that is kinda crazy how that happens, right?
I'm
Like
so
a
happy and excited to be there.
Yeah, it's a night
Yeah.
shoot, you haven't seen the sun in a couple of
Oh,
weeks.
good lord.
I'm
I
good,
hate now.
I'm
I
good.
did one show. No, no, no. I did
No!
one show. Oh, and I said they were coming back second season, and I go, "Are we doing night shoots again?" Because it was like one of those creepy horror shows.
Hmm,
And they said, "Yeah." I said, "No, I'm out. I can't. I cannot do the night shoots."
really?
No. Not like as a whole season,
Yeah, that is
some
fair.
shows like
Yeah,
just that's it's a night show,
yeah,
That's not for me. I love
you
to
start to
watch. I
lose
love
it.
to watch those dark things, but heck no. My brother is a cop and he does graveyard shifts and he loves working nights.
Really?
His whole yeah, he's
Oh
like
my god.
40, right? Like, are you
Yeah,
nuts?
doesn't that affect your brain
Everything?
chemistry later? Yeah, like, things are
Yes.
thrown off by that after a while.
Yes.
Oh, I bet his chief loves him though. Like, "Oh, you're
I'm
gonna
sure.
take another night? Cool, 6 months, you're good. We
Great. Absolutely.
um, I it's funny. I almost had a moment of, hey, let's see what your favorite TV show is. Not going to talk about
I
that.
know, I love it.
Uh,
I know I've slipped a couple times and said some things, but it's hard. It's
oh
it's
no,
it's our lives. We love talking
yeah,
about this stuff.
yeah.
It's
We have
we
to.
miss
It's like
it.
you have to just a weird roundabout way of saying you worked with somebody, but you can't say what the name of it is.
It's
Which,
weird.
out of respect, perfectly okay. But
Aw.
I do want to push into uh your party story. So this is the part of the episode where we kind of dive into something that stands out in your career that you would easily tell friends at a party. And I just wanted to see if you had anything that came to mind that you
I
could.
do love that Edward Furlong story. I find that one to be,
That one is great.
a good but I have so many, like, fun but there's one that comes to mind recently, and it was right before the pandemic. It was the last thing I actually worked on, and it was, Angela Bassett, and she, we could figure out what the show is, but
Yeah.
I was working with a group of people that I was like, and I think I was only there for 2 days, and and it was Angela Bassett, Peter Krause, who I'm totally obsessed with as well, Ronda Rousey. You'll figure it out. Well,
Oh, okay.
you guys
Yep.
can figure it out. And I am obsessed with these people for so many different. Like I love martial arts. I love watching martial arts. I'm a huge fan of Ronda Rousey, and she's here. And I started talking to her. I'm having the best day. And then I talked to Angela, Miss Bassett. I was just like, I am. It is such an honor to be in the scene with you. I just want to say, and I don't. I want to tell all viewers and all people, nobody hates hearing that. So if you ever work with someone who you absolutely love, tell them if it's the right time. Like, please don't be shy because it also breaks the ice. And like, so so we had a wonderful conversation. I had this never mind. I was going to say what the episode was called, but it's because it tells about how I was supposed to act in it. And the director was so lovely, and she comes over and she's like, I just want you to go like ape shit, basically. Like, I just want you to go beyond what you think you're capable of or whatever. And I was just like, oh, I'm not ready. Like, I wasn't prepared to go ape shit today. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
should
that's a
have been
lot. Yeah.
prepared, but I was just like, okay, okay, okay. So I'm just kind of like figuring it out myself, whatever. And Angela Bassett comes over to me and she just starts talking to me and she's like, you know, and then, the way she speaks and she's very passionate and that's really how she is. And she's just talking to me and she's like, all the things that I already knew as an actor, but to see Angela Bassett in my face going, she did this to you. And like, and then she looks at me like, how does that make you feel? And I'm looking at her, like mirroring her expression. I'm like, yeah, that makes me feel upset, Angela. Like, I was like, yeah. And she's like, now go, like, do it. But real, she was really helping me in this scene. Angela Bassett helping me in this scene in like 2 days of work. And I did the scene, and even Ronda Rousey was just like, she almost laughed because I went crazy, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, I laughed," and I was like, "No, it was a crazy scene." And I went up to Angela and I gave her a big hug, and she's like, "I knew you could do it." And I was just like, I've never met her before in my life, and she was just the most supportive, most beautiful human I had literally ever seen. I mean, her skin is like beautiful. She's just a beautiful human. And I want to say one more thing about her. My scene partner in that scene was being wheeled out like on a gurney, and there were some steps on the set, and Angela is like pacing. She's kind of like watching. She has nothing to do with this sort of stunt issue, but we are in the scene, but it wasn't even on us. And they're setting it up, and she kind of is pacing, like looking at how they're wheeling this gurney and down the step, and she goes, I can see her just shaking her head. I thought maybe she was doing some internal work or something. And she comes up to the step, she puts her foot down and just stands there because it looked like it would have been sort of like a like unsafe for the actress. I could see that she thought this is not, and she didn't even have to say anything, but she was like, I'm not going to let this happen. And they ended up taking her off a gurney and putting her on a wheelchair to make it safer, and they rolled her down it. Like, she's just like looking out for everyone. It was just the coolest experience. I just saw her and I was like, this is this is a hero like in our industry. This is someone who loves the craft, loves loves it's in her pores, you know what I mean? Like she was there for other people's safety. She didn't have to be loud about it. She literally didn't say anything. She just gave them a look like, "No, you're not going to do this right now." And then they were like,
Oh,
"Yeah, maybe this is unsafe." Yeah.
I we need more artists like that in
Yeah.
those, leading positions on set.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
Everybody just sort of like it trickled down and everybody just respects themselves and the art and her and every when they're around her. You know, you just level up when you're around her. People like that. Yeah, it was very cool.
I mean, seeing her on screen, there's
Mm.
this ethereal aura to her. I can't even
Such
imagine it in
power.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's little, like she's a
Really?
small person. Yeah, and you're just like, "Wow, you exude so much power."
Oh,
It's
see,
amazing.
I could have swore like, yeah, she's gotta be 6'2", six
Right?
foot one. Wow.
Seriously, no, I'm not certain exactly how tall she is, but yeah, no, she was surprisingly just a petite little woman.
Oh,
And it
I
was so much
love that.
strength and beauty. Yeah, it was very cool.
Well, this
Very
is a
cool.
perfect segue into one of our last questions, and that's
Mm,
if you have any advice you could pass on to our
mm.
listeners. Doesn't have to be about acting, could be about anything, but maybe something you've held on to during your career that you could pass on to somebody else.
Yeah, well, I think, gosh, I just think I can express this right now because of my last few years is and it sounds like a cliche, but really I think just be true to yourself and not anybody's or even your past idea of what success is, what your truth is.
Mm.
And it could be smaller or bigger than your original idea, but I think your original idea can change.
Oh yeah, yeah, the last few years, that's a very pertinent piece of advice to hang on to. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a little crazy, just a little bit, nothing.
just a little bit.
Yeah, nothing historical or anything like that, but, yeah,
Gosh,
I
I
love
know.
that. And along with that, I know some people have different things they like to promote or give a shout out to, but, if there's maybe a charity or an organization that you'd really like to give a shout out to for the episode, I'd love to put it in the show notes.
Oh, I don't. I love that you asked that though. I really do. I think it, I don't have anything specifically
Mhm.
right now, but I think that if we could keep our eyes and hearts and ears open to what's going on, in Israel and Palestine, I think that's probably
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best sort of charity work we could do and find. And I know we're all just waiting to see what they need and what we can do. I just wanna go over there and take some babies home, to be honest. I
mhm,
can't even take these images anymore. But I think let's just keep our hearts open to what's going on over there.
yeah. Thank you for saying that 'cause I don't think there's a whole lot of people who are vocalizing that, it's just,
Mm,
sharing, which I mean, exposing and sharing something on social media is one way to do it, but
mm,
to put it out there is a whole nother thing too. So if you're listening, please stay tuned to that and see what you can do because it's horrific.
yeah,
It's interesting because you think, oh, nothing can get worse, and then
I know,
these things keep happening, and it's insane. So I appreciate you bringing that up. It needs
yeah,
more exposure. Um, and I don't have any other segue to the last part of our show, which is a little bit goofy. I do want to first say, thank you so much for being on the show. I have one more thing to do before we stop the actual recording portion of it. But I do want to say just like thank you for your time first and foremost. This has just been the quickest 50 minutes
Oh, thank you.
on
I can't believe
Zoom.
it's been 50 minutes.
I
Oh,
know.
thank you for
I know.
having
Oh
me.
my god. No, this has been a blast. The last thing we
Oh,
do on the show is what I like to call an awkward goodbye.
oh,
It is from a film with Mike Myers and Dana Carvey that I won't mention. Uh,
okay.
that's where the inspiration came from. But essentially, I'll just do a silent 3, 2, 1 countdown. And when I point to you, just give us your best verbal and visual awkward goodbye, and I will stop the recording from there. Does that sound good?
Oh god, yes, this is funny.
No pressure.
Okay.
No pressure. Just picture
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
in the room.
Yeah, right, right, exactly.
Just surround yourself. All right, here we go. And don't even think about it. Just throw it away.
Uh-huh,
Three,
uh-huh.
two, one.
Hey, I wanna